The Vancouver Canucks are a professional ice hockey team based in Vancouver. The Canucks compete in the National Hockey League, NHL, as a member of the Pacific Division of the Western Conference and play their home games at Rogers Arena. Rick Tache is the head coach, Jim Rutherford serves as the president of hockey operations, and Patrick Alvin serves as the general manager. The Canucks joined the league in 1970 as an expansion team along with the Buffalo Sabres. The team has advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 times, losing to the New York Islanders in 1982, the New York Rangers in 1994, and the Boston Bruins in 2011. They have won the President's Trophy in back-to-back seasons, as the team with the league's best regular season record in both the 2010-11 and 2011-12 seasons. The Canucks have won 3 division titles as a member of the Smythe Division from 1974 to 1993, 7 titles as a member of the Northwest Division from 1998 to 2013, and 1 title as a member of the Pacific Division in 2024. The Canucks, along with the Sabres, are the 2 oldest teams in the NHL to have never won the Stanley Cup. The Canucks have retired 6 players' jerseys in their history: Pavel Bure, 10, Stan Smyl, 12, Trevor Linden, 16, Marcus Naslund, 19, Daniel Sedin, 22, and Henrik Sedin, 33. All but Bure and Daniel Sedin have served as team captain, and all but Naslund were on one of the 3 Stanley Cup Finals rosters. Smyl has the distinction of being the only Canuck to have his jersey number retired at their former arena, Pacific Coliseum. Franchise history. To fill the Canucks roster for their inaugural season, the NHL held an expansion draft in the preceding summer. A draft lottery was held on June 9, 1970, determining who between the Canucks and Sabres would receive the first selection in the expansion draft, as well as the 1970 NHL amateur draft. The Sabres won both spins. With his first selection in the expansion draft, Canucks general manager Bud Poile chose defenseman Gary Doak. Among the other players chosen by Vancouver were center Orland Kurtenbach, who was named the Canucks' first-ever captain, as well as defenseman Pat Quinn, who later became the team's general manager and coach in the 1990s. 2 days later, on June 11, 1970, the Canucks made defenseman Dale Talon their first-ever amateur draft selection. Talon played 3 seasons with the club before being traded away to the Chicago Blackhawks. By comparison, the Sabres chose center Gilbert Perreault with the first overall selection they won from the lottery. Perreault went on to become a 9-time All-Star and member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. At this time, the NHL was divided into East and West divisions. However, the actual makeup of divisions was not strictly determined by geography. Instead, the East consisted of the original 6 teams, while the West comprised the teams that had joined in 1967. One of the conditions of the 1970 expansion was that the new teams would join the established East, while the westernmost of the original 6 teams, the Chicago Blackhawks, would move to the West. As a result, despite playing on the West Coast, Vancouver made its NHL debut in the East Division. While this arrangement provided the Canucks the benefit of more lucrative dates against the other 5 original 6 teams, including their Canadian rivals in Montreal and Toronto, it also all but assured the team would finish well out of playoff contention for its initial seasons, since at the time playoff qualification was limited to the top 4 teams per division. With the Canucks roster set, the team played its inaugural game against the Los Angeles Kings on October 9, 1970. They lost the contest 3-1. Defenseman Barry Wilkins scored the Canucks' lone goal in the game, and first in franchise history, a backhander against goaltender Dennis DeJordy. 2 days later, the squad recorded the first win in franchise history, a 5-3 victory over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not surprisingly, given the tough divisional alignment, the Canucks struggled in their early years, failing to make the playoffs in their first 4 seasons. In an effort to compete in the East, Poile assembled a core of players during this period, led by Kurtenbach, that included defensemen Talon and Jocelyn Guevremont, as well as wingers Andre Boudrias and Dennis Ververgaert. Boudrias emerged as the team's leading point scorer in 4 of their first 5 seasons. Prior to the 1974-75 season, Scallon and his ownership group from Minnesota sold the team to local media mogul Frank Griffiths for $9 million. Also in the summer of 1974, the NHL continued to aggressively expand in the face of competition from the rival World Hockey Association. The previous season, the upstart WHA placed a team in Vancouver. The Vancouver Blazers, the Canucks aggressively lobbied for a new divisional alignment, arguing they needed to be competitive on the ice to successfully compete with the Blazers at the box office. Because of this and other considerations, the East Division was dissolved and the Canucks were realigned into the new Smythe Division, which was a much weaker division. The Canucks responded with their first winning record, 38 wins, 32 losses, and 10 ties, and their first division title with 86 points. This not only gave them their first ever postseason berth, but a bye to the quarterfinal round of the expanded Stanley Cup playoffs. However, the Canucks lost in 5 games to the Montreal Canadiens. Head coach and general manager Phil Maloney, the third GM in team history after Poyle and Hal Laycoe, recalled the importance of a successful season for the Canucks in that year specifically, as they were in direct competition with the Blazers. The Canucks easily outdrew the Blazers, and the latter team relocated to Calgary the following season. The Canucks posted a second consecutive winning record and made the playoffs in 1975-76, but were edged out by the Chicago Blackhawks for the division title and swept by the New York Islanders in a best-of-3 preliminary series. The Canucks missed the playoffs in the 2 seasons thereafter. Meanwhile, Kurtenbach had since retired and assumed a coaching position with Vancouver. His departure as a player marked the beginning of a 7-year period in which the Canucks had 4 different captains: Boudreas, Chris Oddleifson, Don Lever, and Kevin McCarthy. Following their postseason loss to the Islanders in 1976, Vancouver did not have another winning season for 16 years. Nevertheless, due to the expanded playoff format, the Canucks still made the playoffs 9 times in that span. Following the 1976-77 season, Maloney was replaced as general manager by Jake Milford, who acquired such players as Stan Smile, Thomas Graydon, and Richard Brodeur, a core that would lead the team throughout the 1980s. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the next video you want to see.